There is a survey. If you're just joining us in the last few minutes, there's a survey on your screen. We're gonna share some information now. We have a smaller audience today. Very typically these fluctuate with the Memorial Day weekend just happening, and a lot of us are getting back to reopening. We kind of thought we would have a little bit of a smaller group. However, we're gonna have video record this. We'll share this on our website in a week or so. So if there's some information that you want to go over with your teams, go ahead and um, share that with them. But because it's a little bit smaller group, we've got some amazing folks here today that are blessing us with sharing their time. So if you have some questions, we highly encourage you to share those questions. We definitely want to go through this information, and we want to share with you. So I'm just getting my screen ready to share, and we will get going. 1 second, everybody. I'm going to share my presentation. I moved my monitor. If you've joined me before, if there's a slight delay, I've moved my monitors around, so I'm looking at a different thing, and so I apologize in advance. So I'm sharing my monitor over here, and when I shared my monitor, this monitor over here flipped sideways. So I'm dealing with something slightly, like literally I have to look this way. So I'm just fixing that. Um, that is why it looks that way. And I also apparently turned off my video, so you were just hearing me. There we go. We are off and running. So hopefully you guys can see our screen. It's right over there. Well, this is our webinar Wednesday. We have some survey questions that I wanted to go through. If you haven't filled out the survey, I want to know, do you operate your own food and beverage operation, or do you outsource it? So if you operate your own, we just select that on your survey. If you outsource it, just go mark that. David and I were just talking about this a few minutes ago about do you run your own location or not? The next question is really about your F&B per caps. We just want to know, are you seeing a decrease after reopening as compared to COVID, pre-COVID times, or are you seeing an increase? And maybe what is that increase? So we'd love to hear from you. So please share that information. And then the last, I think, is great info. Everybody wants to know, what is your most profitable food and beverage item? This is an opportunity just to type in your waffle cones or your funnel cakes. I can't go one webinar without mentioning funnel cakes, Dippin' Dots, or whatever product you love the most because it's your most profitable item. Let us know, and we can have a little chat about that down the road here. So that would be really cool information. All right. So like I mentioned, smaller group, we want you to be involved. We want you to ask questions. At the bottom of your screen on your WebEx panel is an opportunity to ask questions. Those questions come to our team, and then we can answer them directly, but most likely we'll try to get them in front of our great panelists for their opportunity to share and answer. That's kind of our chat for our webinars. Go ahead and use that Q&A. Also, I'm going to be turning on and off our full screen. We're going to actually most of the time just going to be sharing our own video. I'm not going to have something on the screen. So you might want to go into a different format and hide some participants with video off so you can see our faces as we're talking to you. So that's some information for you there. Our webinars are about an hour in length. There's a community discussion format. So if you're joining us for the first time, these are open to the public. We do invite the press and the public to attend. So if you are a member of the press or public, we do ask that maybe you let us know in the Q&A who you are so we could recognize you. If you have any questions for anybody here, reach out to them for information as to share more info into maybe one of your materials or your media offerings. So I'm Randy, that's me, that's my information. I work here at Gateway Ticketing. I'm the wildlife and conservation principal, but I'm a water park enthusiast. I used to work at a water park. I love theme parks, and that's who I am. Joining us today from Texas is David Thompson. David is awesome. He's been in this industry for a long time. He's super smart. We'll talk a lot about you, David, in a moment. We'll give you an opportunity to share your story a bit, but you're the director of revenue at Typhoon Texas which has like two locations. Two locations. And sorry about that. I just think you guys are growing so big. I remember when you started out with one and quickly expanded. You've been all over the news during COVID. So we're excited to talk to you about barbecue food, retail, anything we want to talk about. So thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Also, Bernie's joining us again. Bernie, this is your second time joining us on a webinar. You're the VP of Sales at Whirley Drinkworks, but you're also the chairman of the IAAPA Food and Beverage Committee. You're a great friend to all of our industry and share some good knowledge. Thank you for joining us today, Bernie.
Thanks, Randy. I appreciate the invite again.
Of course, you're super awesome to hang out with and talk to. As well as our great friend Ken Whiting. Ken, I gotta fix your email. I lost your slide right before. I'll fix that in a moment, Ken.
Just send emails to Bernie Campbell, it looks like, and he'll forward it to me.
Yeah, he'll make sure you get it. I'll fix that if I can guarantee you.
I'll take the complaints.
Ken, I gotta be honest with you, right? I had made this great slide for you with this logo, and like I accidentally deleted it like 5 minutes before I was doing a run through, and I was like, where did Ken's slide go? So I was scrambling to get you back. Ken is the president of Whiting's Foods. They run and operate the food and beverage offerings at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, but a great leader in our industry. And Ken, I want to talk to you about teenagers and hiring as well. It's a passion of yours. You really help out a lot of organizations with hiring. You're also the vice chair of IAAPA. That means that next year you're going to be the chairperson for IAAPA, representing all of the manufacturers and suppliers as they work with IAAPA. So we thank you for your volunteerism and service, just like Bernie. So thank you very much for joining us today. Behind the scenes, we have Greg Vanaker, our manager of marketing, and Bill D'Angelo. They'll help you out along the way. We've got some recordings here. There's a link down over here that I can send you from our last recordings. But if you are new to this and you want any more information on how to get in touch or watch past recordings, there's like 32 of them, I believe, of our webinars and some other offerings. These are just for everybody. You don't have to be a gateway ticketing customer for this. In fact, a majority of the folks joining us are not gateway customers. So just resources for you. Hey, this is a really cool thing I want to let you know. There's a website called coastercloud.com. And Ken, Tom over at the IAAPA European office actually made this himself. If you're not aware of it, it's really cool. If you are into the attractions industry and you want to keep up to date, what he's done is he's aggregated all the different like services like Amusement Today, Blue Loop, IAAPA into one website. It's a great way to stay on top of what's going on and what's new. One of the top items that I do want to mention is that we're seeing this real need, of course, for labor. Everywhere I go, there's bonuses being offered. There's increases of price. I mean, if you're a young adult that's looking for a theme park job, this is the time to pick wherever you want to go because they will absolutely love to have you. We know it's still a problem at a lot of locations where they're struggling. They're changing and modifying their hours. I've seen, unfortunately, some of the negative press out of Kings Island where some of the locations are cutting out certain days where they're not going to be open just because they can't have staff. A lot of these attractions, of course, rely on temporary visas from international workers, and that's obviously a real dilemma right now with the inability to come in from other countries. So this is a good time to work, but I would say most locations are really struggling here. And that's continuing. So some information there. Attraction reopening down in Santa Cruz recently. The Memorial Day weekend went off and running at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. There's a news article here. It looks like there's thousands and thousands of people. And actually, Ken, I'm going to jump right to you. What was it like this weekend at the Santa Cruz Boardwalk? Great weather, lots of people. even at 35%? Did you guys have a really hot weekend?
Yeah, the weather was great, and there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. People are out and about. The beach is packed. The park is packed, and we have limitations on the numbers of people who can buy ride tickets. But for those that just are strolling, if you will, in the park and in the surrounding area, it is packed. Now it's something that we were all waiting for, and but we went from 0 to 100 overnight, and it's been a new kind of crazy, but we'll take it. So.
Wow, that's what is it like? I mean, give us a little bit of background about your operations, and everybody, we're gonna go all around the corner here and talk. I mean, how many food and beverage locations do you run?
Sure. So you want me just to talk for a minute here about?
Yeah. Hey, let's get to know Ken. So Ken, you guys, you just reopened. Yeah. Tell us about you and your operation.
Get to know Ken time. Give me 5 minutes and I'll tell you everything you want to know. First of all, again, Randy, thanks for the invite. Willing to help out anytime that we can. So I am sitting right now at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk in California, and parks and attractions were allowed to open April 1st out here with capacity limitations, which all will go away starting on June 15th, just a couple of weeks from now. So things are moving forward very, very quickly in a very positive way. Our operation is we run, a couple dozen, 30 locations here in the park, and typically we would have hundreds of employees, have a few less for sure. We also operate in a sports stadium and in and out in fairs and festivals. And so, like for so many of us that are online and participating today, everything just shut down, mid-March a year ago. And now we're slowly kind of coming back online. So the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk is definitely coming back quick, and we're just happy about that. Couple of things that come to mind. I guess I'll just jump on this because it's kind of tangential. You referenced it, Randy, about staffing. I mean, staffing is hard. We've all of us in this industry have lived through tight staffing periods in the past, but it's something different right now. This is uniquely different. Many people call out that staffing is the new pandemic, right? And it is affecting our businesses in levels that I don't think anybody would have imagined. You called out some examples of operating days, operating hours being reduced, or days not being capable of opening. Here in Santa Cruz, our summer schedule has us not open at night, not past 7 o'clock on weekdays, and we're typically open till 11 o'clock or midnight, and all of our promotional events are on hold for the time being. And that candidly is primarily related to our abilities to have confidence that we will be able to staff. Maybe things will change, but it doesn't appear to be imminent in that regard. And so it's not isolated to here. As you well know, it's all over the country. So my sense on all of that, the fact that we've all lived through these tight staffing periods in the past, this is probably going to accelerate, like some other trends have been accelerated through COVID, accelerate some new things. And I wish I knew exactly what those new things were, but some new adaptations to our business models for the future, and how that we can stay staffed. So we'll go right back to a tight staffing period in 2022, I'm sure. So that's just a little bit there. A couple of other things that I would say as relates to me and it relates to food and beverage is, first, I'll just reference IAAPA. I hope that most of you that are online today are probably members of IAAPA or certainly familiar. One thing I want simply to call out is that, boy, when things hit last year and we all shut down, IAAPA picked up. Boy, oh boy, the sheer amount of communications and planning and connections that occurred from the 1st of April and continuing, 1st of April a year ago and continuing, has been incredible to the degree that the industry has been served by our association. So hats off to the staff and the hard work that they have done to be nimble and flexible and and strategic and be focused on serving our members. One thing I would also say as relates to IAAPA is, and I will be chair in November of the association. That's just been I don't know, 30 years of just volunteering, kind of culminating, I suppose, in that for me in my volunteer life, and looking forward to that very much. And I'll be in a position to highlight and raise the profile a little bit of food and beverage within our association. So if anybody's got any ideas about how they think that should be or could be or what ought to happen, just drop me a note or send a note to Bernie Campbell and he'll forward it on to me. The other thing I would say in terms of what has happened or what is happening as relates to reopening is, everybody's had a chance to kind of go back to almost zero-based budgeting of sorts, right? Where everything kind of got stripped clean, and now we're in a position to start over. All of our managers are working way closer to the customer than perhaps they ever did in the past, and so that's generated all sorts of new ideas. And to a certain extent, we're operating like startups again, combined though with the experience that we all have, because everything has been looked at and through a kind of a fresh set of eyes. And some of the things that we are doing specifically and or are very large trends in our industry that no doubt Bernie and David will have stories to share about them as well. But mobile ordering is here to stay. It's been here in the past, but we are activating that. And it's growing in its adoption in very large ways. Contactless payment fits right into that. Cashless operations are increasing in a tremendous way. We have switched to only to be no cash, and I would have been the last person on earth to suggest that we would do that in 2019. And when we were forced into it, candidly, there's so many operational benefits that I don't imagine that we'll ever switch back. Not only operational benefits, but financial wins on it as well. So, cashless operations. We're in an industry where we're so labor intensive, and with so many young people that we do such a great job already with engaging and working with and training and educating our young staffs. But that has just risen to a whole new level right now in terms of that connection with staff and knowing what's going on with them, primarily from a retention standpoint, I suppose now, and making sure that we don't lose them. But it is so key. And some of the things we've had to switch to in terms of virtual and digital kinds of interviews and orientations, those are going to stick for a while, maybe forever. I'm not really sure. They offer a tremendous amount of flexibility, and so we're doing those now. And in fact, we have someone that used to work with us that lives in Denver, Colorado, that's interviewing for us today. That would have never have been an opportunity in the pre-COVID world. So that's been interesting. We've lost throughout the year of having to lay off so many people, and others have to find other jobs. We've lost a tremendous amount of our experience, and so we're rebuilding that right now as well. And our menus, we look at menus a little bit differently right now. We have ramped up to have more variety and more options. That's what our guests were wanting. They were more willing to wait for food to get what they wanted, to have it hot and fresh, and so we had been transitioning to that business model as it relates to food and beverage. Well, boy, we have totally retreated from that, and because we've just been so busy that line speed. I mean,
Yeah, you have to serve all that food so fast. And in fact, Ken, I want to jump on that really quick because I was talking to Dave earlier about some of that and about mobile ordering and changing your menu offerings. And Dave, I want to talk about your barbecue in a moment, but Dave and I talked a little bit earlier about just supply chain. Like right now, because of COVID and because of costs, they've had to change. So Dave, at Typhoon Texas, are you seeing the same things that Ken is doing? have you changed your menu this year in response to supply chain availability, costs? I'm curious what you guys are doing down in Texas, and if it's the same problems that maybe Ken's having.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It seemed COVID every week something new is going out of stock. What ketchup, any paper goods has been an issue. Now it's chicken wings, so we don't have chicken wings anymore. We tried keeping them, and it's hard to charge $20 for 5 chicken wings, so we took those off. Brisket, we originally wanted to do barbecue here in Austin like we do in Houston, but with cost of brisket and everything, we've limited basically just to our Cabana guests this year, which is nice. It gets the team practice on how to make barbecue before we do it full scale next year. But yeah, it seems, I've said this before, I feel like COVID was a big issue for us last year, but I feel like on supply chain, I have more effects of COVID this year than I did last year.
And so it's interesting that you're doing, what we would expect, like, different types of menus. You're only focused on different areas. But I love what you're saying about the brisket and the Cabana. You're like saying, look, we can't offer this food product to everybody because we just don't have enough of it. But you can get a Cabana.
Yep.
You can happily go rent a Cabana. I'm sure Cabana sales are doing fine. In this last weekend, I'm imagining that you probably didn't have any of them available.
No, we typically are selling out of Cabanas 2 weeks in advance. I feel like that's still probably partially because of COVID. Last year when everybody did reservation seating, Cabanas was one of those reservations. So I feel like we still have that where people want to get their Cabanas early in advance. I mean, I'm already halfway booked out for July 4th, and that's over a month away. So it's nice. Good problem to have.
About Cabanas, I want to shift into mobile ordering because Ken brought up mobile ordering, and I'm trying to figure out a way to do this. I have screenshots of all my mobile ordering from when I went to Universal in March, and I'm a believer. I love it. But with Cabanas, are you pre-ordering food for your Cabana folks?
So we don't. We've gone back and forth on should we do it or should we not. And so this year I'm actually not doing mobile ordering, which it hasn't been an issue so far. It's working out great. I like to do the in-person ordering just because it allows us to highlight that customer service piece. When you have an employee there, it makes a difference for us. And luckily, I'm fortunate enough that I have Cabana servers and I'm able to have that staffed. So I haven't had to go to mobile ordering yet.
Well, that's good information. Now, between Ken and David, about hiring, you talked a little bit about staff. Are you seeing the same problems? Are you able to staff?
Staffing, it's definitely not ideal. I would say I think I'm probably more fortunate than most. I always read articles about different parks that are open weekends only or not opening until the middle of June or something like that. I think we've been really fortunate here that we have decent staffing. We always want it to be better than it is, but I think I feel pretty good. I am nervous about 3 weeks into the season when the team's working 6 days a week. How will that go with hospitality and service? But Governor Abbott here in Texas announced toward the end of June they're going to stop doing the federal aid. So I'm fingers crossed. I'm hoping that in July we'll see people really applying for jobs, and that's kind of my golden bullet there. I'm hoping July staffing will be great. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's interesting how politics factor this in. And I don't know how much you're seeing that, Ken. Over in Tennessee, we are seeing the same thing. Signs are up at every business that are begging people to come in. McDonald's, and Tennessee is notoriously low in their wage scales. But McDonald's just today, I was seeing, the $14 an hour, and graduates have even more. It's all kinds of different options. But a lot of people think that the extra stimulus money is causing this as an issue. Ken, are you guys? Is that a problem for you? I know you mentioned you're still at 35%, but even if there's 35% guests, you want to open every food operation. You want to sell. That's how you guys make money.
Yeah. It's a very real challenge, and there doesn't seem to be a particular hourly rate or a big enough signing bonus or other kind of financial incentive that we know would work. Because I mean, ranges, and we're we're at $18 an hour, to start, and then you got people on top of that. So it is, and we'd go more. We thought that it would turn out lots of applicants, but everybody's hiring. The signs up McDonald's here, I'll say $15, $16 an hour, and it's we have an issue.
Same problem everywhere. Yeah.
I wonder what pay rates will be like, 2022, 2023, with everybody offering $18 an hour now.
David, I don't know.
It's nervous.
The other side of that is that we are hiring a lot of younger people that we never hired in the past, and that are making a very good wage. And so anybody a little bit older just can point to, a 15-year-old making $15 or $16 an hour and argue pretty successfully that they're worth a lot more. And so I don't know what one thing I know what the future looks like, that funnel cake's about to get a lot more expensive. So
that's what scares me.
That's what I know. So.
Yeah. Can you go backwards, Ken? Once a wage gets to a certain rate, can you really ever go backwards then?
I'm shaking my head no, because I could not imagine that. We did. I think I read that at Cedar Point they went $20 an hour, but that it was 2021 thing, and I'm not really sure what that means. But I believe I got that information accurately. They may go back to 15 or 14 next year. I don't know that to be true 100%, but we don't have any expectation of going backwards.
Oh,
And by the way, in California, the minimum wage is 14, so it'd be 15 in 22. So,
well, and I think that's we start thinking about the price of funnel cakes and the price of all these different things, and I'm going to throw up some of our slide data in a moment, but Bernie, let me ask you about souvenir cups for a moment and beverages, because I there's a question coming in, and I want to talk about price increases for a moment. I can go to McDonald's and I can get any size soda for $1, right? But I like to kind of figure out what are the prices. A question came in and it was about about outside food, about water, bringing in water bottles and all that. What is the typical cost of a souvenir cup at an attraction in the U.S. today?
Randy, it really depends on where you're at. It's very regional, but I would say that on the average for an uninsulated souvenir bottle, you're probably in the $9.99 range. You might go from $7.99 to $14.99, and then at some of your larger parks, they're at $17 to $20, $25 for some of those things, and then you figure in all season bottles and you've got super premiums now with stainless steel. You have the guys up there, the Hershey Entertainment Group in Silver Dollar City are selling a $69 vacuum sealed stainless steel tumbler for free refills all season long. So it's it really is all over the board. And one thing I wanted to get back to, Randy, I know we were kind of talking this a food perspective from when about supply chain, but as a supplier, our supply chain is tough too. And and getting employees, we're in the same boat as you guys are, and I'm sure many suppliers are, that we're having a tough time hiring people and getting back to full steam where we were in 2019 from an employee perspective. So we're having to do a lot of creative things as well in our area, and I've even heard that there are some cup manufacturers, and thank goodness we're not one of them, but they're having trouble getting plastic. So the supply chain shortages just aren't really, it's just not related to our industry. This is a pandemic nationwide, let's say, so to speak, and it's going to take a little while to recover and come back from it.
Yeah, and I would say that the short term, what I'm seeing is that people are just going to charge more for their products. But as a consumer, I don't think that's a problem. I was down. I mean, I got my SeaWorld cup with me today, and I remember like it. I think the sign said something like "buy one get one like half off," but one of them was well over, I think, $15, and it included drinks for the day. So I'm sitting here looking at like, oh, so it'll be 20-ish, $25 for 2 cups for the day. Okay, like I don't, as a consumer, I think that we can really test the limits there in terms of raising that number, because we're gonna pay it, and I think that, so there's all that pent up demand. So in the sense that Ken just said, yeah, we're increasing the price of labor because we have to, and maybe we don't retreat. I feel that there's probably that this is that opportunity where revenues or food costs and all these different things that have come together are going to force us to raise the price of food, and we'll just stay at that. That'll be the new floor. And so a $20 souvenir cup with all day refills is not out of line when you are enjoying that day. It's part of the experience. I think that's where we're going.
Yeah, and I think the other thing you have to consider, Randy, is, there still has to be a value, right? There has to be a perceived value. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that, hey, it's just my souvenir bottle, I can charge whatever I want for it. But at the end of the day, it's really about all of your pricing and all of your beverages. What are you selling your disposables at? Because if you're selling a 32-ounce disposable, and I'll be ridiculous here, if you're selling a 32-ounce disposable for $1, and you think you're going to get $22.50 for your souvenir bottle, you're crazy. It just doesn't work like that. So there definitely is some synergy, and you've got to think about your whole menu if you really want to have a successful souvenir bottle program. And by that I mean increase the penetration rate, the number of bottles that you sell to their guests. There still has to be some type of perceived value there.
Yeah, and you have to have good food. I mean, like the quality of food though that we're seeing at attractions is also increasing tremendously. Now, David, you're getting me hungry. It's lunchtime for me. I haven't eaten, but you guys, barbecue wise, I love what you guys did during COVID, and I'm curious about your off-season barbecue program, and how it started, and what you charge, and how it went. So can you share with us a little bit about what you guys were planning to do with your barbecue restaurant?
Sure. That conversation really started back in 2018. Just an idea from, our ownership, one of them being Keith Dalton, was like, we have this asset that sits idle 6 months out of the year. There's something we can do with it. And so they just kind of were spitballing ideas, like, we've got great barbecue. Let's see if we can do something with that. So we had toyed with the idea for kind of 2 years about, should we do barbecue or should we not? And then with COVID and, everything kind of shutting down, we actually said, hey, let's go in and do it. And then fast forward to the day we opened the restaurant was the day that Houston announced that they were shutting everything down. So it was like, well, what a time to open the restaurant. So we pivoted to just drive-through only, and it actually worked out pretty well. Kind of looking back on how successful it was, we had a $0 marketing budget for this. I mean, we kind of decided within less than 2 weeks. Evan, the president of our company, goes, can you get barbecue open? I was like, yeah, give me a week and we'll see what we can do. So that's kind of how we started it. But I think one of the things that we really utilized was our season pass base. I mean, we have access to, thousands and hundreds of thousands of season pass holders that we have all their emails and phone numbers. So we kind of sent out a lot of email addresses to kind of help spread the word and kind of get some some plugs for it. So it was really exciting. We went both ways. We went single meals, we went family platters. We found that family platters were a really, really convenient way to market it, especially, everyone's staying at home, so get food for the family. So we went that route. And then that's where we actually did online ordering. Initially, our first weekend, we did not do online ordering. You had to drive to the park, and we had people outside the gate taking orders, and we could not speed that thing up fast enough. So we pivoted and went to online ordering, which was amazing. And then when the orders didn't stop coming in, we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? But no, it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I've got a bunch of pictures I'm going to share of that experience. I mean, how many cars would you do? I love how you varied the menu. You can see here that's some other thing that I really like. In this experience, you could vary the menu, and it's because you're targeting for that season pass base. You've got customers that know you, they know your product, so you're gonna rotate your product. Obviously, if you're an attraction that has less repeat visitors, you don't need to vary your menus, right? Stick with what works, sell the hot items, and keep selling them over and over, because you're gonna have new guests every day. But in this situation, you vary a little bit. So what did it cost for? I see some prices here, but what was your food cost, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about that? We're curious on some of the metrics around it.
Sure. So we started with just doing barbecue because that was kind of our bread and butter. And then, at the time we were already starting to ramp up our normal water park food, French fries, burgers, that type of thing, because we were a couple of weeks away from opening the park. So we had pizza in the freezer already. We had chicken tenders ready to go. So we kind of started introducing, outside items, burgers, tenders, because we wanted to do more than just barbecue. But I think barbecue is definitely our bread and butter. So our food costs, we actually pivoted away. I know usually in this industry, we try to say that 25, 30% food cost if you can. Certain items may go more, but here we treated it more like a restaurant. So we were actually okay with getting close to that 50% food cost. Because we're not really in the industry in this regard. We're more of a restaurant, so we have to compete with In-N-Out and Whataburger, and McDonald's, who can sell burgers for pennies on the dollar. So we kind of lowered our costs a little bit, just try to get more people in. And then, that chicken tenders, burgers, it's kind of hard to compete with McDonald's and Chick-fil-A on those type of things. So we kind of pivoted away from that and kind of went into more specialty things. So the Nashville hot chicken that you see that was on there, that was actually one of our most popular specials. We started doing some dessert items as well, just to kind of, we wanted to stay out of the lane of Chick-fil-A and McDonald's because we were not going to be able to compete with them. So that's kind of
but you bring up something else though. It's like you're also, but you're in the lane of fun and experience, right? Like, so
right.
That's one of the things that I think is really important in our industry. I've said it many times. We had a conversation with Knott's Berry Farm, and we've had others. Sometimes I just want to go and I want to enjoy that meal with the experience of being at a theme park. So the successes of being able, I love the idea that attractions can start thinking differently. We can open our doors and we don't necessarily maybe need our indoor rides, or we don't need all of our attractions. But I think, Dave, you even had talked about maybe letting people drive in, get food, pumping the music, the wave pool is running, and the food probably just tastes better because you're there at the experience.
Yeah, it was definitely a different experience. So, people were skeptical at first, like, what? You actually want us to drive into the park? We're like, yeah, come on in, see what we did. Because, at that point, we had the park pretty much ready to open, and, landscaping was done, the park was clean, and then we didn't get it open. So we're like, well, let people drive in the park anyway. But I think another really important thing at the time was it really helped employee morale with the full-time team, because, we were on certain, industries, or at the time, parks across the industry were shutting down. Disney wasn't opening. And so it's like, oh my God, Disney shut down. Like, what the heck? And so I think, it really helped the morale with the full-time team, because this was something that we could focus on, and we could actually, be working and doing something, because we're like, hey, are we opening? Are we not opening? What are we going to do? So this provided a good distraction, I would say, for us, which was really helpful at the time.
Yeah, that's really cool. And Ken, let me ask you. You did this a little bit. You could open food and beverage on the boardwalk before opening your other attractions. What was selling? What did people want? How did it go for you from a revenue opportunity there?
Well, first, we were open a little bit without rides. The boardwalk's a free entrance property sitting on the beach here in Santa Cruz. So people that still could come to the beach, we'd walk up and through the park, and to buy some things. But mind you, you asked me what we're selling. We only did 5% of the business that we did in 2019. So we didn't sell too much of anything. I was happy to do that much, to be honest with you. But maybe people were, well, there's a lot of indulgence going on right now. People are wanting to buy the upgrade, the upscale, the funnel cake, use that example again, and other kinds of things that really add to the experience of the visit, for sure. One thing I'll say, and I'm prompted by looking at the photos that David's got out there from Typhoon, Texas, is one of the things that did occur in COVID for those parks that were open. A lot of places did leverage their food and beverage expertise to special events, to food trucks, to being open on the beach, to trying all sorts of things, using DoorDash, and I mean, all really looking for ways to turn their full-time teams loose to see what you got, how we can how you can make some money out of it. And I really think it's going to. I think food and beverage is going to really escalate within our industry, and in part because of the value that it was able to create for a lot of properties through COVID. One thing I'll mention very quickly is that every park, like Typhoon, Texas, our full-time team, we had a lot of time on our hands. Like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna look better? When we come out of this, we've got time, and the gift of time. So we tried all sorts of crazy things. Most of them didn't work. But we kind of looked at ourselves and kind of, what business are we in? We said, well, we're in the foods for fun business, and we're in the hiring business and the training for young people. And that was the business that we looked at ourselves as being in. And so we ended up repackaging a lot of our employee training materials and make those available for sale in the marketplace. We worked with one of our vendor partners, the IC company, and developed IC flavored and branded cotton candy, and we're selling that all over the country extremely successfully. And so we've got a couple of wins that would have never have happened without COVID and without our team having time to kind of experiment and trial and error and explore, where typically it just doesn't happen. So I think food and beverage is going to really shine as we transition through 2021 and go into 22.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go.
I was going to say, Randy, it's amazing how resilient and how creative this industry was during COVID. And Ken, I think you're right. A lot of this stuff is going to stick. And whether you're a large park or a small park, I think people found that, you can do a food festival, or you can do a tasting menu, or, there's been so many great ideas that have come out of COVID, and it's all because it's just such a creative and resilient industry. And David, you guys are certainly you're certainly a model example of creative thinking and resilience down there at Typhoon, Texas.
No, thank you.
And I put some shots up here, and I think that's I follow your Instagram, Ken, and I do think that's what's really cool. Is like knowing how to sell food and knowing what to sell is key. But having that attraction and having that place where you can go to experience it, I think that's really what's great. A lot of attractions just don't know how to operate some of these food and beverage operations, right? So we actually asked everybody a question: if they run their own, or they outsource. And this seems about right. I would say well over half of the attractions seem to run their own food and beverage operation. But a question for all of you would be, if you're newer to food and beverage, what would your advice be to people attending? Should you outsource food and beverage? Should you partnership? What are your recommendations? And actually, I'm going to start with you, Bernie. You chair the F&B committee for IAAPA. This is one of those questions that comes all the time. Like, I'm starting an attraction. What do I do? Or I want to make more revenue. What do I do? What are your thoughts on this matter?
I mean, I feel pretty strongly, Randy, that if you've got an operation that you should run your food service. Why give a third of that profit away to a third party vendor? And I know some people do it successfully, and there are certainly valid reasons to bring a third party vendor in. Sometimes they can inject some cash and some investment into the property, and that can make all kinds of sense depending on where you're at. But there are enough food service people out there, or there are enough creative people out there that I believe if you're starting, that you should try to run the food service yourself. And certainly with IAAPA and in the theme park industry, I don't believe there's an industry that I work with that shares more information or will help you more than this particular industry. And you have one of the premier mentors on the screen today. I mean, Ken Whiting has been there for a lot of people, will help a lot of people, mentors a lot of people, talks to a ton of people in the industry, and will certainly always help. And with Ken being such a great model of that, I think that just filters down through the rest of the industry as well. And so there's plenty of help out there. My advice is to give it a run yourself and get help from the organization like IAAPA that's out there to really help you with it.
Oh, that's a good answer. I'd also say, and get help from other suppliers as well. Like if you were starting, I remember when we brought Dippin' Dots in at the water park. So I worked at a water park. I started food and beverage. Like, you just find great partnerships. Dippin' Dots taste great anywhere, but I'll tell you, they taste better on a hot day at a water park and when you're, walking around, So whatever it is, you just get a kiosk, set it up, and I was working with a friend of mine that they run operations, and they were trying to, just do their own ice cream and purchasing. And sometimes it's just having the right brand, working with the right brand, right? Like IC, you mentioned IC, Ken, same thing, having the right brands that people know. I think there's a lot of success in that.
And I would just say, there's not a one size fits all model either. I mean, every park is different. Every customer base is different. The demographics are different. The length of stay is different. Can I bring food in? Can I not bring food in? I mean, they really drive menus and really drive how you build, impulse business. And
Right.
Some of those brands you just called out will do just that for sure.
Yeah, no, food and beverage is 100% of your revenue operation. But Dave, at Typhoon Texas, what percentage of your operation or your revenues are from food? Are you in the 25 to 30%, or what is it in comparative to other in-park spend and ticketing spend?
Let me do some quick math really fast. I would say, food and bev, it's the highest revenue outside of front gate. Obviously, your ticket sales are going to be the most, but I would say we're right around that 1/3, 33%, 35%, something like that. But I mean, it's a significant amount of money. So if you can do it, you should keep that money for yourself and not give it to a third party, assuming you can, because I know, like Bernie said, capital requirements sometimes can be prohibitive. But one of the other things that I see a lot of times when we talk about food, I always talk about doing food made from scratch and trying to do the freshest food you can, because that kind of seems to be how the industry is going. And a lot of people are, I'm just so scared, but I can't possibly do raw chicken. I can't do raw beef. And like, it's definitely, it shouldn't be as, you shouldn't be as scared to do it as you think, I guess. It's not that hard. It just comes with proper training. Your team members, if they're trained properly, they're going to meet expectations. It just comes down to proper training. Make sure that you handle food correctly. But I've talked to a lot of water parks like, I can't possibly bread my own chicken tenders, and I would never do raw beef. And like, I think it's a risk reward thing. And I think having that high quality food is definitely worth it. And that fresh food is really worth it. So.
I'll weigh in on top of what David just said, because I've had the good fortune, or the privilege, I suppose better said. I've probably worked with a couple of hundred other attractions of different types and sizes, and oftentimes people, no, we got to have better food, but they don't support it in the kitchen. They don't support it in the training of their employees, and it's just a recipe for disaster. And so I agree with what David said. But if it's totally supported by the infrastructure and the investment necessary, and in staff and ingredients and equipment, then go for it.
Yeah, and I would say we've turned a corner too about like what the food offerings will be, right? Like I wanted to throw these pictures up of, you know, the new Avengers campus at Disneyland, and of course they got all this press about this $100 sandwich, but it's a $100 sandwich that serves 8 people. That's, you know, if you're going to do high quality food, just yes, be consistent. Disney's definitely consistent, but so are Typhoon Texas. I've been on your boardwalk and I've had fantastic beer, right? Fantastic top shelf beer that is locally brewed, and it's great at the boardwalk. I think you just have to meet the expectations. We're going to deliver a good product, and we're going to charge for it. But I think this idea that a theme park gouges, I'm going to be careful with the words with this audience, but you know, the quality food and what we're serving and the price is no different than you'd get at a restaurant. We just have to think of our menu to serve that food quick enough and with the standards that we want. But I certainly never felt gouged when I go to an attraction these days. I feel pleasantly surprised with the food offerings that I've had. I think I cut you off, Bernie. Were you saying something?
I was going to say that I think a mistake that a lot of startups make when they do their own food is they don't communicate to the guests properly. You know, the signage and everything is critical, and someone like a Dippin' Dots or an Icy, they do a fabulous job with signage and branding. And you know, you've got this shot up on the screen here, and I'm sure it's making everyone hungry that's watching this. And you know, pictures say 1,000 words. You know, that supersized $100 sandwich at Disney, I'm guessing that they just don't have the picture of that little triangle of the sandwich when you order that. I'm sure they're communicating that to the guests properly in their menu and on their menu boards. And, you know, you can absolutely drive additional sales by communicating properly what you have to the guests. And there's not a better way to do it than with pictures today. And it's never been easier to communicate with pictures today than it's ever been in the history of theme parks.
Yeah, I'm looking around. I had one sitting around my desk here. I was on site at some attraction, and I'm like, how are you powering your digital menu board? And literally the guy's like, oh, it's all on this one stick. It was like an HDMI stick, and they put it in, and it's wireless. He's like, worst case scenario, I take the stick out and I upload it. And another attraction, they just put their entire menu on a website, and the TV was an internet TV, and it just opened up that website, and it was just a rolling website that changed the image. How smart is that versus a static menu board, right? It's really, really easy to do. This day and age,
the other thing is you can set your staff up for success there. You know, if you've got a digital menu board and you're in the weeds in the kitchen, you can flip to that B menu and take some of those items off your menu that take really long to prepare for a certain amount of time. And then once your kitchen is back up and running and out of the weeds, you can flip those items right back up on the menu again. So, you know, Ken often talks about making sure that you're creating success for the back of the house. And believe it or not, a digital menu board can be a huge part of that.
That's good. I love talking about all this stuff. Okay, let's see. Ken, Ken, the boardwalk, you can bring outside food in, so you're competing with outside food. So, but you know, you can't get a frozen banana usually outside very well.
I guess that's a good example of one size doesn't fit all. In our case, people are going to the beach for the day as well as the amusement parks, their destination, and but they can bring outside food in and set up shop on the beach, and so we take that into account in terms of the kinds of menu items that we would choose to focus on, which might look a little different than other parks where might be more meal centric.
Yeah. What's your most profitable food item, Ken, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, good gosh. I suppose, you know, ice cream is a category that would include Dippin' Dots, but we sell lots of soft serve, a lot of dipped cone. I mean, tremendous amount. Funnel cakes, pizza. I mean, they're all There's half a dozen that are very large contributors.
So I'm thinking back on my water park days. I'm going to ask Dave that question as well. What I liked about what you just mentioned, Dippin' Dots, soft serve, funnel cakes. I love how there's like all those food products have like the entry level product, and then there's like the super size product.
Yeah.
The super size is where you really make all that money. That's where your profit is. You're adding all the whipped cream, adding the syrup. You're adding all these things that make this thing look monstrous and amazing. But the reality is, you just layered on, like, you just charge $2.50 or $3 more for something that really cost you at that point 15 more cents, 20 more cents, right? It's loving up the items. That's what I like about some of those staples that you mentioned. Dave, what's your most profitable item at Typhoon Texas?
Alcohol. Just kidding. But no, for real, alcohol does help us a lot.
Alcohol is great.
Right. Similar to Ken, I think if you're talking about as a cost percent, those sweet treat items typically help balance that menu. I'm always chicken tenders, burgers, and pizza will always be the top 3 sellers at the park, which is great. Barbecue is expensive. It brings in a lot of revenue, but the cost isn't necessarily as good as it is on some other items. So doing, funnel cakes and Dippin' Dots and some other sweets kind of helps balance the cost out for the whole department when you add barbecue in, because barbecue can easily get above 40% cost of goods, but funnel cakes 10%, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. So they help kind of balance out. So yeah,
that's great.
Alcohol is really profitable. So.
You're answering all of Isaac's questions. Isaac wanted to know, like, he loves barbecue because he's in Kansas City. Can you bring outside food into Typhoon, Texas?
You cannot, unless it's for like a medical reason, but we do not allow outside food into the park.
How about outside bottled water?
We allow 1 factory sealed water bottle per person. And then, there's this whole debate on, does vitamin water count and sparkling water count? And I'm like, oh my God. just
yeah, that's an area where we really struggle. We never allowed outside food. But that's an area where you don't want to get too out of line, right? Like, at some point you trust the folks. We're obviously at a water park. You can stand on a lot of things. Listen, we got to control the amount of alcohol you're going to be drinking. Of course, you can't bring in your own alcohol. You can't bring in glass. There's a lot of really good reasons for it. But I'm always amazed at the attractions that I see the Red Wagon come in, and they're just big coolers, and they lay out a whole picnic, and I'm like, gosh.
Well, because you give away a lot of revenue in that regard if you bring in a cooler, but maybe your ticket price is a little bit more expensive. And so, for example, let's say my ticket price was $10 more. Maybe I'm okay with losing $10 in food and bev because I made it up in front gate, but that could keep some people from coming to your park. So we prefer lower cost of entry, and then we make it up in the park as well.
That's a lot of attractions have that business model, so that's good. All right, let's see. We're out of time, but I love the questions. I told everybody, this is me. This is me mobile ordering at Universal, and this is on the left-hand side. That's half of it, my orders. I just want to let you know. I don't know how much I'm mobile. It's funny because or did I do? I did the same slide twice by accident. But what I think is funny, I don't know how much I'm into mobile ordering. I just like to know that I've got food on the way because I want to maximize my day, right? But it's always interesting. Like, I get a Bud Light and cookies and Chardonnay and butterbeer. It's just funny when you start thinking about what you're gonna order. I think that's one of the things that I've noticed the most about mobile ordering is that the guests will get anything. Like, they're just gonna randomly select things. And I think you need to be prepared for that. So, have the right offerings. I do want to show this. I love this information. This is our last slide. I'm a little sad. 22% of us had seen a decrease of our F&B per caps, while 22% was about the same. So almost 60% saw an increase, but the places that saw a food and beverage increase saw it pretty big. 15 to 24%. We've got some big numbers here. So, I mean, Ken, I would say that's kind of what we've been hearing. People that have been selling are seeing good numbers.
Yeah, I'm more surprised that 22% have shown a decrease because everyone I've spoke with and our own experience has been significantly higher. I've spent more time on working the point of sale terminals over the last 6 weeks now than I have in the last 6 years combined, and it's incredible how much people are spending. And our average transactions are up over 30%, and they're spending money. I mean, kids can get larges, and they've added on any sides that we have, and any unique items. It's just a lot of money getting spent.
Yeah,
Up
you guys,
Wayne, I would imagine over time a little bit, but not right now.
Yeah, Ken, I think you'll agree that 22% to me looks like an opportunity. Whoever is in that 22%, look at your menu mix, because you quite possibly are not selling the right things right now, because we're just hearing too many great things from around the country on F&B per caps for that to stick.
Yeah. Big comment.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that from what I'm hearing. But there's some nonprofits on the call, and in fairness, one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of those indoor, if you're a museum and you're indoor, you probably haven't been able to open up your food and beverage operation. So maybe that's why some of that they're seeing some of a reduction. I think that that's a possibility, but I certainly would want to end with the plug that IAAPA, Bernie, Ken, Dave, I think all three of you, I've chatted with you many times before. You're all able and willing and interested in helping. So, email you guys, any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email and I will shoot some information out. I'm trying to share my screen again here. But I think we're here to help. IAAPA, most certainly, if I want to close by saying, Bernie, you had said if anybody wants to talk about a specific subject, to let you know, because you and IAAPA are very willing to. You have webinar programs coming up to let them know what's available. So, when is your next webinar, Bernie? Do you guys have one scheduled yet?
Yeah, June 21st. It's a great one. Nancy Hamlin from Cedar Fair and Doug Hemphill from Six Flags are going to be talking about menu mix and the importance of having the right things on your menu. So, it blends right in today. So look for that. You can go to the IAAPA website, type in webinars, and sign up for that webinar. But I'm really looking forward to it because as everybody knows, those are two true leaders in the industry, and they're going to have some terrific information for everyone.
And in fact, yep. So go ahead, Ken.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that's a powerful twosome. I'm going to tell you right now in terms of what their experience is. So I definitely would tune into that.
Yeah, and I would say that if you were seeing some decreases in the revenue, Nancy said the best words I've ever heard. We went to a food and beverage process about this. She goes, "Look, we discovered at Cedar Fair that we just weren't selling to our guests." I've said it before on this webinar. She did an accounting of how many point of sale outlets they had, and realized that they were underperforming. But it's because they just didn't have enough windows open. You had thousands of guests, and they had something like 2,000 or one window per like 1,500 people. You're not going to be able to sell food if you don't have enough offerings. So that could be why some per caps are dipped. A lot of people are scared to re-enter that space. They're worried about it. But the reality is that we're seeing is that if you offer the food and you offer the good quality food that people expect, you're going to sell it. So Dave, I put your email up here. If anybody wants to reach out to you, Bernie, there's your email right there. And Ken, there's your email right there.
Okay. All right.
All right. So now you're going to get those emails that Bernie is going to get for you. Download our latest white paper about how you can make some more revenue opportunities here using some of our product offerings. There's a QR code. Always, if you have any questions for me, or just hit email marketing@gatewayticketing.com and just ask your question. Guys, we went a little long, but the conversation was fantastic. So I appreciate you guys very, very much. If you're in Texas, go order some barbecue from Dave. I'll see you on the boardwalk by the end of the year. I'll see you down there again. And you guys are going to go to San Antonio next week, I believe. So maybe you all see each other at that IAAPA event. So everybody have a great day. Wish you best of luck. And I'm sure we're all hungry. So we're all going to say sign off and grab a bite to eat.
I'm out.
Bye, y'all. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Randy.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate y'all.